let's talk about being hosted. Now, you've moved abroad, you have planned, you're being hosted by a friend, you're being hosted by a family, you're being hosted by someone you just met, you're being hosted for a bit before you get on your feet. Let's talk about the rules of being hosted, because the number of DMs I have been getting of people who are like, I'm moving, I can't. Hey, so grab yourself some tea, grab yourself some water, because we are delving deep into this subject. As someone who was hosted for about 3 months, I'm gonna be giving you my experience. I'm gonna be sharing everything that you need to know. If you're planning to move, if you're being hosted, you might relate. And please subscribe, like, hit share, and let's grow this community, shall we? Cheers. There's rules. There is rules to living with people. There is rules, and they're usually unspoken, because, for example, probably you're moving and you're not living with family, most likely you're just living with friends, most likely of your parents, and obviously you've never lived with them. They do things differently, they have their own culture, they have their own practices, they have their own way of doing things, and they have their own routine, they have their own rules, because every house has its own rules. And this might be different, you might find it hard to adjust, and yet you still have to be livable with, for lack of a better word. So what are the rules? What are the rules of living with people and living harmoniously, for that matter, with people? The first thing I would say is get to know the house rules. So as you, of course, you've planned, you're both excited about seeing each other, you're both excited to live with each other. But what are the rules? What are the rules that apply? Do they, like, for example, clean the house every day? Do they have turns, like cleaning dishes? Like, for example, if you live with my family, for example, who are not here, we have like rules, so that, like, we know dishes are washed after every meal and who is in charge of washing dishes. The house is cleaned how many times a week, and stuff that, for example, you who's been living alone or with your mom and dad probably don't do. So get to know, what do they do, and then once you've understood that, try and see where can you chip in. So if they have turns in cooking and you're seeing, because life abroad is very interesting because people work a lot. So for example, if it's someone's turn to cook and you've just been noticing that they're not able to, probably they're working, probably they're sick, offer and see where you can chip in, see where you can put yourself. You're just right on the schedule there. Litha is now making dinner every Tuesday or every Wednesday, just to make life easier for your host. Number 2, communicate, and communicate openly. Hey, this one can be hard, especially if you don't have like that relationship, open relationship, where like you can openly say, I don't like how things are done, I'm finding it hard to adjust. You know, it's very hard sometimes to speak from your heart, especially if you're speaking to someone who you're not so used to. It's very hard, but there's a way you can be open and just get to express how you feel. Probably you've realized that there's no expectations, and yet they still expect you to do certain things, and when you don't do them, for example, they catch feelings and they don't talk to you. Express that and be like, Lisa, I noticed you're not talking. Why? And then they obviously will tell you why. Probably they told you or they expected you to do this and do that and you didn't. Probably you just locked yourself in your room. Maybe, of course, you had a valid reason. Maybe you were studying, maybe you were coping with your own, because obviously moving abroad, you still need to cope with that. So that's a whole other process. But on top of that, there's still expectations that probably were not discussed, because they just thought, oh, you're an adult, you can do anything, you can probably observe and pick out what you need to do. So get to know, like, so if they're, for example, mad at you, why are they mad? If you're feeling some type of way, express it as well. Remember to express it respectfully. Rule number 3, keep your space tidy. So most times when you're hosted, you'll be given a room to yourself. Obviously it has a bed, maybe it has a table where you can like study and do your thing. Basically it's your little space within the house. Please keep it tidy, because when you're hosted, you do not have, yes, you have your own privacy, but then you also don't. If the host, for example, decides they want to open the door to your room and clean it, for example, what control do you have over that? And if they open and find it untidy, that's gonna be a whole other story, because they'll be like, why are you making my house untidy, for example? And then it's just gonna spiral and spiral and spiral. So as much as possible, no matter how many jobs you're doing, no matter how many assignments you have, keep your space tidy and clean. Number 4, be mindful of resources. Now, as someone who's obviously living with the host, for example, you may not necessarily start paying or chipping in towards bills immediately, because you obviously need to you need time to get on your feet, adjust to the environment, save your school fees and all that stuff. But the fact that you're not paying or chipping in towards bills does not mean that you should waste resources. So as much as possible, make sure that you're mindful of the resources, whether it's water, whether it's electricity, whether it's food, whatever it is. Please do not go with your appetite, your full appetite there. Please try and minimize your appetite. Another rule, embrace flexibility. One of the things I really struggled with when I was living with a family that was hosting me was flexibility. Now, if you know me very well, you know that I'm a very structured person. Now, putting school into that, putting work into that, putting me just having moved to a totally new country into that, I was really struggling to be flexible and like, for example, go out with them, go for walks, go for impromptu kind of things. Like I had to kind of like plan it. But one of the things I quickly realized was embracing flexibility helped me even just take myself away from what I was doing for a bit. And yeah, once I embraced that, at least I was able to do a few things. Obviously, I didn't like fully just be open to the whole every plan that was there. But what I could, I did. What I couldn't, I just couldn't. And I feel like a host feels happy when they see you participating in the activities, participating, going shopping with them, for example, and just having fun with them. It's a way to also bond with your host. The last one, express gratitude. Always say thank you. Thank you for food. Thank you for everything, you know. Just say thank you. Thank you goes a long way. Thank you. I learned in primary school, thank you is a kind word. I forget, there was a word they used to use for that. But yeah, always say thank you. It actually goes a really long way when you're living with a host family or a host friend and you're not paying bills, you're eating free food, you're using free resources. Always say thank you. It goes a long way. Alrighty, that's it. I hope those rules help. If you're planning to live with someone, if you have lived with someone, what do you agree with? What don't you agree with? I'd love to know in the comments section. If you have any questions in regards to living with a host or living with someone, please drop them in the comment section below and I will be sure to answer them. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't, please subscribe. Bye!